Welcome to the Fueled by Joy podcast. I'm your host, Josh Michaelis, and I invite you to join us for an in-depth look at the working dog, from coonhounds to retrievers, pointing dogs to stock dogs, and everything in between. So come with us as we give you an inside look into canine nutrition, as well as the owners, handlers, and animals that make these sports so special. So tune in and enjoy, and as always, get fueled by joy. While this is our inaugural episode of the Fueled by Joy podcast, I want to express that they won't all be like this. The format for this podcast is going to be a little different. We are going to, as I've discussed in our introductory, podcast, that we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to do all kinds of working dogs. Joy Dog Food loves supporting dogs with jobs and working dogs and competing dogs, and we find it interesting, especially me personally. And so we're going to mix it up. We're going to do a lot of different breeds, a lot of different types of dogs, and we're going to do, a lot of different things because we feel that it's all important. But this podcast is special. This podcast is with Frank and Rob Giddings, legends of the sport of competition coon hunting. Some of you guys are not going to understand the lingo and the terminology in some of this, but we feel that it was so important that we just wanted to let Frank and Rob tell their story and tell the story about their dogs. And I feel like we let them do that. There's going to be some names that non-competition houndsmen are not going to understand or comprehend, or some terms as well, and but that's okay. We're going to get to all the other stuff too. So our first two episodes are going to be with Frank and Rob. It's just going to be a long-form interview. It's going to be very interesting. They've had some amazing hounds in the past, and they still have some amazing hounds, and they're still competing. So just enjoy. Sit down, take a listen, and as always, get fueled by joy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Josh Michaelis, and this is the inaugural Fueled by Joy podcast. This is a standalone podcast just for Joy Dog Food, and who better to have on it than the legends of the North, I'm going to call you, Mr. Frank and Mr. Rob Giddings. How you guys doing?
Doing just great. Real good, Josh. How about you?
Well, I'm doing great. I tell you what, like I was talking before we started recording, is man, it's a beautiful day out here in North Missouri, and you guys said you had some good weather too. So I think everybody's in a better mood whenever the snow starts melting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get right into it. Now you guys, you're known for the Sackett Junior dogs. You're known for all kinds of things, but there's going to be some other things that a lot of people don't know about you guys. But Frank, I want to hear from you first. How did you guys get started, early on in this coon hunting, in this sport?
I started, first time I went coon hunting was with my ex-brother-in-law and brother that was a year younger than me, Ken. And all I wanted to do was play ball. I was about 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
He talked me into going one night, and they hadn't treated a coon all summer with a bunch of great dogs. And that particular night, they did treat a coon. And Brother Ken, he couldn't climb a ladder. But I told him, I think I could climb that tree. So I climbed up, shook coon out, and I was hooked from then on. So,
do you think you'd have been hooked if they wouldn't have treated a coon that night?
I don't know. Probably not. I probably would have been once somebody called me in going.
So you were 12?
That was long. Yeah, that was a long time ago. And,
yeah. You were 12, 13 years old. When did you get your first dog, Frank?
I was 15.
Yeah. What kind of dog was it?
A registered blue tick. But he died actually the guys I started hunting with then had blue ticks and mom bred mostly.
Yeah.
And I got that pup, and I think he was about 12, 13 months old, and he died. And I got another blue tick from Mississippi, and he didn't pan out too good. And an old man, been gone a while now, Dan Reeves was his name.
Yeah.
He called me or seen me one afternoon. He said, "Lad, will you go hunting with me, just me and you?" And I said, "Yeah." But we went out to a place we called the club grounds, but we'd hunted the blue dog, all this and that. And that old pair of great dogs, if I remember, we made 9 trees and looked at 9 coon. And on the way home, he said, "Did you learn anything?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And I never forgot it either.
Right.
So then eventually I got a Walker dog that was a great dog, and I'd single registered him in 1961 at Walker Days at Logansport, Indiana. And then we kind of went from there. Then old Ring was next, and his descendant, then Sackett Jr. and Cord and all the rest of them. And
so in 1961 is when you said you single registered that gray dog?
Yeah.
How big of
I single registered him at Walker Days at Logansport, Indiana in 1961.
How big of a process was it back then to single register a dog?
Just had to take him hunting a tree of coon.
Really? That's all? That was the only requirements?
Yeah. He had to meet the breed standards, so on. But he definitely had to, you go out and turn loose and strike tree of coon. I forget, had to stay tree 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. So you mentioned Walker Days in Logansport, 1961. When did you start competition hunting these dogs?
Not till Rock River Ring came along.
Yeah.
That was the spot. And then I registered a female Rock River Belle that my nephew owned. She was kind of a crossed up dog, but she was all white.
Mm-hmm.
Bred her to the spot dog, and then hunted the dog off of them called Blaze, and then hunted the dog off him called Jackson we had when Ring was a pup.
Right.
And then we just finished Ring out by itself and went on from there.
Yeah, what year was that, Frank?
That was in the early 70s.
I got you. So when you went to Logansport to single register that dog, it was just for that reason? You didn't compete in any of the hunts or nothing? You just went down there so a judge could see that dog?
Down there. I had met Howard Winchell, was a lifetime friend.
Yeah.
We've lost him now, but I went down there with him, and he said, "You need to get that dog registered." Blah, blah. So we went down there. Pete DeAndres was secretary of it at that time. And he's the one that took us hunting.
I'll be darned.
And Howard had the old Winchell's Jake dog, and he was hunting him. He was a half brother to Banjo too, and House's chief, and so on. So, and basically, through Howard's stuff, I got into the competition part of it.
What was the style of those dogs in the early 60s to the early 70s before you started hunting Ring? I mean, were they similar to Ring? Were they? Well,
back then, way up through old Ring and all them, you demanded dead accuracy mostly.
Right.
Everybody coon hunted because the hides helped out with the families and so on, and so there's more, I think, a lot more so work type dogs that took what they could, the moonlight nights or whatever, and just come up with coons.
Yeah. What you guys got? Michigan is notorious for their coon population. They have a reputation, much like where I live, that there's a good coon population, and you can treat a lot of coons in a night. Is it pretty much like that where you're at right now, Frank?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we've got plenty of coons, but we live a mile north of Muskegon State Game Area, and Muskegon River runs through it, and it's rough.
Yeah.
It's 12 miles between road and when you turn one loose, a lot of times it takes you longer to get the dog did for the dog to treat the coon. But now down Middle State, down from, well, we'll say Grand Rapids south, it's all basically farm belt.
Yeah.
About an hour and a half east of us and an hour and a half south, and you can tree as many coons you want to tree and tree them pretty easy.
What, between 60 and 70, between, you registering this great dog and before ring coming along and stuff like that, were you going through a lot of dogs? Did you just keep one or two? Were you hunting super hard, or was it just something you were doing as a casual?
No. I hunted 7 nights a week. I had 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And when old ring come along, I still had 2 dogs.
Right.
And then I think the little Jackson dog was me and the 2 older boys was hunting and got into the 4th or 5th tree we made back in the bottom that night, and he was just laying under the tree.
Really?
We had to carry him out and got him to the vet, and his kidneys and stuff, and the vet said he won't live 3 days. So Ring was about 11 months old at the time, so from then on, it was just me and Ring, and then I bought a female Polly that was a younger sister to him that my oldest boy hunted all the time, ran it out and so on. Back in them times, it was all 3-hour casts.
Right.
And, so we kind of branched out, never have really kept a whole bunch of dogs.
Do you still kind of follow that policy today? I mean, just 1, maybe 2 dogs?
Yeah, I got 4 right now.
Yeah.
And I've got a 2-year-old dog here, and then got son, and actually, I guess I got. Well, no, I do own 4, and then Rob's got 1, Jim's got 1, and Chuck's got 1.
Yeah. So you guys got plenty right now. It sounds like.
Yeah.
So tell me, we're up in the early 70s, and you're starting a competition hunt, and you've got Ring. Tell me about Ring. What was he out of? What was he like? Anything you can think about him.
Ring was off of Merchant's Ball and Barney.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave's Queen, which was off of Howard Winchell's old Jake dog, which earlier I said was a half-brother to Banjo too, and House's Chief and all them, and his mother was a Nance-bred female.
Right.
The Old Rock River Ring was rawhide tough, period. I never seen him. That's all I hunted. And a lot of times, the first coon or 2, he sounded like a frog out there.
Really?
But yeah, then he'd get back going until daylight. He was fine again.
Yeah.
But I can't recall slick trees.
Yeah.
When he got treed, you just looked at coon.
Right.
And he's a hard wide hunting dog. Top outstanding water dog and so on. He's probably come right down to it. I've not really, for night after night performance, the Sun Dog probably comes as close to him as anything I've had.
When I knew I had talked to you and Rob and stuff, and I knew I was going to be able to record this podcast, I'd done a little research, and I found an old stud ad on Ring, and good looking dog. You had a picture of him in front of trophies and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I'd just take a look. Looked like just a beautiful hound, and I noticed that the stud fee was $100.
Yeah,
and I just
that
thought,
was high back in them days.
I've got some old full cries and stuff that I had saved, and I like looking at all that old stuff and the history of our sport. And there were a lot of $50 stud fees, or a lot of dogs for a pup. And here's Ring sitting here at $100. That's like $1,000 stud fee or better today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you breed a lot of? I mean, I think you did, if my memory serves. But you bred quite a few females to Ring, right?
Yeah, him and Timothy Ball's original Hickory Nut Harry was the 2 leading stud dogs at that time.
Right.
And
Did you get the promotional? You didn't get the promotional bug that T-ball did. I don't think.
I'll tell you,
Timothy
they
was
was up
famous.
there. Yeah, there was a whole slew of people come for a week hunt. Timothy Ball, Merchant, and I mean, we had a great time.
Yeah.
And my wife, she made biscuits that pile on the table like you wouldn't believe every morning. But the Coon Club down the road, the ladies always had a midnight supper down there for everybody hunted.
Yeah.
And I come in the house here, and Timothy was sitting at the table talking to my wife. And he said, "Well, the truth of the matter is, Miss Oakley, Frank promotes his dogs by hunting them, and I promote mine with my penmanship in the magazines."
He wasn't.
And,
He wasn't wrong, was he?
yeah, and yeah,
He was a special case. Timothy was.
Yeah.
T-ball was something
Yeah.
else. He was a pioneer in that part of it, I think.
Oh well, as far as writing ads and all this and that, no, yeah, he was. I wasn't in his class,
No, I don't think even anybody today is in his class.
and actually, I didn't want to be in his class in that respect.
Yeah, that's right. Me neither. So it's early 70s. You're hunting ring, and everything's going pretty good. Seems like when did Rob come along? When did Rob start hunting?
Rob was, if I remember right, I think he was 6 weeks old when he started.
6 weeks.
Yeah,
That's pretty
And
young.
You might as well find out what you got.
Yeah. Rob, do you remember your first coon hunt? Now I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say it was probably your dad that got you started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that was the case. Do you remember your first coon hunt and when was it?
Well, the first one I was old enough to remember was a dog off from Ring Junior. They called him Irish.
Yeah.
And yeah, vaguely remember that. That'd been a long, long time ago.
What year did you start following your dad around?
Well, I was born in '74, and pretty much just started right in.
Yeah.
Started following his brothers around the boot.
Yeah.
My brothers are 15 and 14 years older than I am. So
Oh heavens.
yeah. So I had lots of people to follow and tote me along and
Yeah.
carry me and all that good stuff.
My brother's a lot older than me too, and I'm gonna guess that your brothers probably didn't baby you around too much out there, did they?
No.
Mine
About that water,
didn't
boy,
either.
just jump in.
Yeah, that's right.
If I remember right, I got in some kind of bad situations because I was the one who was still small enough to fit in certain spots.
Right, yeah, them den trees and them holes in the ground and things like that. You can get a little kid in. It's hard to get a grown man in.
Heck yeah, when coon hides were $30-40 a piece, little brother was kind of expendable.
That's right. That's right. So hunting with these hounds has been a family affair for all of you for as long as you can remember. Frank, how did your dad hunt?
No.
Oh, so you just
My
went
dad-
in. You just went in with
my
your
dad-
buddies then?
Yeah, when I was just a little tyke, my dad run off and left 9 of us.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so I just don't omit that part of my life.
Well, I don't blame you
But,
there either.
I swore mine had never to see that, and they haven't. So
We
we've got a great family thing, and I'm tickled to death with it. So is my wife.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When did so we were hunting ring? Rob's bouncing around on the cradle with his brothers packing him around. What did you hunt? What dog come in after ring?
Ring Junior dog, Ring 2 dog, basically ring stuff.
Yeah.
Dog I bought from Don Hall in Indiana. We call him Rink. He was my back door rings 5-6 times. He was an outstanding dog. And then I think the first year I'd met Howard, he was going down to James Merchant's hunting and invited me to go along. And, when we was younger, I thought, Banjo too. My God, that dog walks on water.
Yeah.
You know? And so I went with him down there and met James, and we was friends till the day he passed away. But I found out that even them paper dogs didn't walk on water.
That's right. Tell me about hunting with James. What was it like? Was he an entertainer like I assumed he was?
If you want, I won't mention some names or but if you went to their house to spend $1, they'd give you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
If you pull up to James Merchant's, if you sat there 5 minutes, you just like you known him his whole life.
Yeah.
There was never no pressure about doing no bid, no nothing like that. No. He was a good friend, and he helped me a lot when I was just young and naive about a lot of stuff and all that. And, I thought a lot of him.
Yeah.
Back in he called one time in the summer, and I mean, you're in the South, so you know how hot it gets down there in July and August.
You bet.
And he always thought quite a bit of my wife. And he called and said, "Bring the Opie and come down." And she said, "I don't think I want to go for it being so hot." He said, "Well, you tell her what I'm going to leave right now, and I'm going down. I'm going to town and buy her an air conditioner and putting that bedroom up there." And sure enough, when we got there, she had a new air conditioner in.
Well, that's awesome.
And we'd hunt down there late, or hunt late up here. When I'd get up here, he'd have her at the kitchen table in here telling her all about the old dog and all that. She ain't got a clue what he's talking about, but she thought a lot of him. And then he called me and said, "Son, I'm going to be gone a couple of weeks." And I just thought he's going somewhere hunting. He said he's going to Manila. Well, I thought, what? I never heard of it, and I thought, where's that? He said, it's across the water. What? I said, what in the world are you going over there for? He said, I'm going over there to try that woman out. And I'm sitting at the table, and my wife's looking at me like, what in the world's going on? And I thought, you got anyway, when we got hung up, I told her, and so he went over there, and I don't know how long it was. He was gone a couple of weeks, and then he got her shipped over here.
He had to shop around for a while.
Yeah, and then I think once she got here, she had 90 days, and then she's either got to go to Chicago and get her papers, or else she has to go back.
Yeah.
So he called up him one day and he said, "Be all right, come up the weekend?" He said, "I want Okie to meet Ronnie." I said, "Yeah, it's great." He said, "Well, we got to stop at immigration, Chicago." And he said, we'll be up. And I always worked second shift. And I got home that night, and she was out by his truck there. So didn't hardly talk much. I said, "You must be Ronnie." That's right. She just, you. Come in the house, and I took a quick thing and got a sandwich, get ready to go hunting. I happened to look, she's over there putting merchant socks on. Putting his boots on him, and my wife's over there shaking her head, don't even think about it. So she had a little talk with Ronnie about American women, and Rob was about, what was you, 13, maybe 14 down there, and we went down there, and Harvey French used to hunt him quite a bit.
Yeah.
He had a boy Rob's age, and Jim's got a fish pond on his place. The boys was out there fishing, and they caught 7, 8 fish, and Merchant said, "Ronnie, get them fish skins." So we're sitting around there yik-yakking, and he had to look over there after about a half an hour. And I seen Okie go over there talking to him. Merchants, he just wanted him alone. He said, "Ronnie, "My God, I told you to skin them fish." She said, "By God, American women don't skin no fish." I thought America was going to blow up. He finally got up, gave Opie a hug, and said, "Damned if you ain't ruined her." Yeah, I swear.
Now, those are the kind of stories, Frank, that I do this for right here, because
Yeah.
nobody on this planet that wasn't there wouldn't have known something like that. That is fantastic. And the characters that are in this sport, like James, and like I can name 100 others. Some of them I've had on some podcasts before with Houndsman XP and stuff, and it's just such a unique sport with unique individuals. But I think we've talked about Timothy Ball, and I think James was one of the more unique ones.
Yeah. Well, him and Marilyn was married. Marilyn was a real nice lady. I mean,
Yeah.
They divorced, but it definitely was not Marilyn's fault.
Right.
I mean, Jim, we go down there and up here, if you go hunting, wife don't expect to see you till breakfast. Yeah, we go down there and tree a coon or two, go to the house, and he'd pour that Coke and a little bit of Coke to color it in a water glass full of whiskey, and sit there and talk to Yeek and that, and me and Howard to go back hunting.
Yeah.
And, but all in all, he was a great person, and one thing about it, if he was his friend, he was his friend, and he was truthful. His lifestyle when he was younger sure didn't abide by mine and all that much, but he finally got over that. I heard him and Opie talking here at the table one day, and he told her, said, since me and Ronnie's been together, I've never looked at another woman, and I thought, well, you finally growed up. Well, you're 60 years old, but it took a while.
It's about time, huh?
You finally made the grade.
You touched on going out with James and treeing a coon or two and coming back to the house early, then you going back out. And Frank, you've been, the first time I had heard of you and I had been around you, you brought some dogs down to Jess Dickerson's and Russ Myers for the stud dog hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember meeting me, but I talked to you a few times there, and I remember meeting you. But you were notoriously.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
The first night there, and the big storm hit. Was you up there under a patio, or was you out there hunting?
I was under the patio where all the smart people were. That's where the people that knew better were sitting, was under the patio.
But I'll tell you, that was
something.
a great weekend. Yeah. I think everybody had a great time out there, and I mean, no hostilities amongst me or nothing. And I thought it went just great.
I did too. I really did.
Ross and Jeff was great hosts. Too.
Yes, definitely. But one thing I wanted to touch on is back then, you were a notoriously hard hunter. The nights and the hours and the time that you put into these dogs, you were famous for back then, and I assume before that, and probably even after that. Because, I like to say I hunt hard, but I've been around hard hunters, and I know I don't. I'm getting 3-4 nights a week on the weeks that I'm hunting hard, 2-3 hours a night for a couple nights, and then all night another. But everybody I've talked to that hunts with you and that's hunted around you has said that Frank Giddings goes hunting and he hunts hard. And, how do you keep that drive for so long? I mean, you've been doing this a long time, Frank, and by all accounts, you're still going at it pretty good rate.
Well, I think a lot of it goes. I mean, I love the hunting part, but and since we got into the breed stuff in here, we've always, as the generations went on, we've always been able to come up with another pretty well top dog. And,
yeah.
Myself, I demand a lot out of a dog because I don't take no mercy on myself. I don't care where they get treated. I'm going to go get them. Yeah. And fortunately, I got 3 boys that's got the same philosophy. They turn one loose, they're going to go get them. And it's not a forceful thing, anything like that. Just I've done it all my life, and I guess probably will keep on doing it. Been blessed with a woman that puts up with me.
Yeah, that's harder to find than a good coon dog.
Yeah, yeah, he's a peach.
And good coon dogs are hard to find.
Yeah,
So I want to talk about, of course, I want to talk about Sackett Jr. I do, and that is probably when you talk about stud dogs and you talk about all-time greats and you talk about the impact that dogs have had on a breed. It's Sackett Jr., it's Lipper, it's Naylor, and it's very few others. I mean, Sackett Jr. is right up there with the all-time greats. And what made him such a dominant reproducer? What were some of the things that he passed on to his pups consistently? And how did you? To be honest, I want to hear the whole history. Where did you first lay eyes on him? How did he come about? The whole works.
okay. I owned old Sackett. Well, Merchant's Tree Blaster, we called him Catfish.
Yep.
And Jim wanted a dog. He sold his stud dog, and Merchant's philosophy was if you sold a stud dog, you got something opposite that you could breed that one's daughters back to.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm more stayed with the same thing, and I'm more up on the line breeding part of things, to where if you got a program and it's working right, you're always supposed to come up with one.
I agree. I agree.
But at any rate, a boy used to hunt me a lot. Don't hunt anymore. Kevin Blitz was his name. Me and him, I hunted him some. Kevin hunted him some. He was an awful good hound. As far as the coon dog, probably pretty well top dog. That would have been the old Rock River Sackett.
Yeah.
But didn't reproduce on outside females at all.
Right.
If you bred him into Yadkin River stuff, you was all right. But that's basically what he was, with a little Tidewater Shep stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I draw this guy, Ernie Skeens was his name. I had this female off Dehoney's boom. You couldn't shut her mouth from the leash on, but she was a tree dog.
Mm-hmm.
And between me and Kevin, I think we beat her 4 or 5 times. Anyway, when she come to see, Ernie called me and wanted to breed her. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And I said, I'll breed her for a male pup. Okay. Well, we bred her, and she had 5 pups and lost 2 of them. She raised 2 females and a male. And well, he called me one day and he said, he left.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for Frank and Rob this week, and we're going to continue this conversation next week. And you will get to hear about how Frank got his hands on one of the greatest stud dogs in the history of the Tree and Walker breed, Mr. Sackett Jr. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to do more with Frank and Rob next week, so stay tuned.